Mike Kelly, welcome back to the journey. You had you on the journey, I want to say maybe like 6 months ago, I think, maybe a little bit longer. And but as just to let the people who are listening know and remind you that the journey is a show that is really focused on stories of transformation, stories of individuals who may have had some obstacles in their life or currently going on in their life experience, and what did they learn as a result of those obstacles and persevering through that, and what did they learn on the journey of failing forward. And I know that you did a phenomenal job when you were on the last time telling your story about growing up in the Freeport area and with your mom and dad and all the different ways and how you navigated through some things, and then and recovery was part of that, and then but also music was part of that. And as we can see, all the different memorabilia you have behind you. In is that now you're at your house right now, not a
Yeah.
studio, right?
Yes, I'm at my home. I grew up in Clinton, Iowa, and Morrison, Illinois.
Oh, okay.
I live in Freeport today, but yeah, back in the day, my high school and that was all in Clinton and Morrison.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, no, my this is my wall of fame over here. I actually I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a simulated brick wall. It's just got the names of students that I've had in my home. I probably got a few hundred names. I just have them sign their name, But
Nice.
but then these posters are, well, actually, so I don't have to paint my wall. But but there's a testimony. My house is kind of a little weird museum of me, and I mean, it's my house. I can do whatever I want in here, But I mean, one in particular is a little shop of horrors at Byron High School.
Sure.
Back in the '90s, I did this musical, and I knew the director. We go back a ways, but he knew I was out there, and he called me if I wanted to do this show. And my high school years, I was basically that Polky guy. I didn't do theater. I wasn't in band. I just chose to exist. I wasn't doing much, and I was sort of involved in football. But that, education and trying to do good and learn and all that, I missed the boat, and it was my choice, obviously. But this theater thing. Here I am as an adult, doing this show, playing guitar for Little Shop of Horrors, and this is how God has always worked in my life. And then there's a scripture in Joel 2, that God will give you back with the locusts of hate. And in my alcoholism, in my decisions, in my choices, were the locusts. It wasn't any hard times or things that I couldn't help. I did it all by myself, no problem. But here's how this works. I get called, I do this show. We end up doing a phenomenal job. Little Shop of Horrors is really a really cool musical. The music is really awesome. And then the big giant plant that eats everybody at the end. But it's a beautiful story. But anyway, we won state. And so here I'm in Byron on a bus load going all the way down to the state. We won this state, musical, just like you do in football, you win state. I didn't realize that there was all these different other types of state, deals. And so here I am with these kids, and we're going to stay in a hotel, and we put on 2 performances for just thousands of these other Illinois high schoolers down there participating in this event. So that's my God given back with the locus of hate, because I just didn't do all that. I wasn't involved in all the things that I do today. I'm a teacher that's not educated, by a college. I don't have a degree. I just have a degree in the hard knocks, But the posters there are just, that's a reminder of where I was at, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like today. And so I need that to I got to remind myself. That's me. And I tell my students, when I have students here at the house, I point this stuff out, because they ask me about these things, and I say, well, here's a little story about me, and I always share the the Little Shop of Horrors one, because in reality, my life was a horror and horror, and I was out of control, and so I got back doing some of those wonderful things that you just wish you could go back and do again.
Sure. Yeah.
And just by the people that I knew, or I mean, I am not capable of pulling that off, and there's only one way of making that happen, and that's my higher power, who I choose to call God, and that's the evidence of that is so profound. I just glory to God, man, that I'm alive and I'm sitting here talking to you. That's a miracle right there. So
Sure. Sure. Well, I thank you for that story because I don't know that music, Little Shop of Horrors. I don't know that specific musical that well, but as I've shared with you through our conversations, I've always enjoyed musical theater, and then the last 13 years, I think, how long? Yeah, last 13 years have, my wife and I and were thrust into my daughter's life of doing musical theater. So she every year for the last 13
yeah,
years, since she's been 8 years old, has been, you know, that's been our world. And as
yeah,
much as it was going through it with my son playing sports, all the way from grade school all the way through college and playing football. It was that way with her being in theater, and she still gets to do it. It's one of those things that you can do it as long as you want to, and
oh
age,
yeah.
you don't get to age out of that one, so your body doesn't necessarily fail you in the same way it does with competitive sports. And
No, the love of theater is it's not a well-paying gig. It's usually a community theater or something like that. And I've been asked, I've been honored to be a part of certain things, and I'm too busy to commit to a weekend and with all the rehearsals and with
yeah,
what I already do, and so it's always impossible. But there's nothing like it. It's really cool. I've done Jesus Christ Superstar, Godspell, all kinds of different ones, but the biggest one was Pump Boys and Dinettes. The first time I did that was I probably played this part called it was Jackson, um, and I probably played that part about 200 times. But
really,
I ended up going to the Fireside Theater and doing that show for about 3 months, 9 shows a week. Uh, you know, again, I don't know how to do that, so I mean, I did, I mean, I got to give myself a little credit, but what people saw in me and what I really thought was always different, and so how I ended up in those things is it's just pretty cool.
sure, yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well, it was kind of similar to our life journey and how they intersect, right? I saw you Saturday night, a couple nights ago, and it just happened to be a day that it was we had a family friend of ours that their son, 35-year-old son, died from brain cancer. And in
Mm.
a matter of a short time period, I think the
Oh,
total time period was like 10 weeks from diagnosis to death. And then
oh,
because of COVID, they weren't able to do the celebration of life and his funeral until just this past Saturday, even though he died April 27th. And so we were going out to eat with the family, some of the family members that night, and then you guys happened to just be getting done playing, and
yeah.
I know that you guys haven't been playing out as much, and I know that's a big part of what you've been doing. So, tell me what during this time period, playing out was a big part. Working with your students was a huge part. Tell us what did you do during this COVID when before we were in phase 4 here in Illinois? What were you able to do, or what didn't you do, and how did that work wise?
Well, I last time we talked a lot. I talked about my parents, and I like to go down there, and so I came back, went to visit them again at the end for my birthday, March 3rd, and I came back, about another week later, kabam, here we
Yeah.
go. I've lost 30 gigs from the last 2 weeks of March to actually the end of June. And now I just heard about a gig in August here in Freeport. Another one that was at the park. I mean, outside, but it's in September. Done, canceled. And so they keep canceling, you know. But I'm probably up to about 35 or 40 gigs right now of no gigs. So that was one thing that I would look at my day planner, and I put the little circle with the line through it, and it's like, it just Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, here's a Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, just bam, 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 nothing, they're all done. Gazzardo's, I teach there, had to shut down. I worked at the YMCA here in Freeport. They shut down. So like overnight, like everyone else though, I was very, very unemployed. And, it was like, okay, now, but knowing that everybody else is in this boat, that actually really helped, because it wasn't just, there's a lot of people that's individually just having hard times. You get laid off from a job, whatever, but then, what's up with this COVID thing? And then, I think being concerned about other people, I'm an only child. I live by myself. I've been solo for a long time. I am kind of all I think about, but it's not in that, it's not so much like the ego kind of thing as it is I'm just me, but what do I got? What am I going to do to take care of? I still have a house payment. I was able to call them and have that deferred, or whatever that word is. And I'm going to owe a bunch, but my credit rating was like 820. And I just really didn't want, that took forever to get like that. My credit rating used to be nothing. So I'm kind of proud of that. And I really didn't want that to affect, because, all of a sudden I can't pay my bills like everyone else. But, so, they kind of helped me. My car insurance, house insurance, they allowed, like a month of not having to pay. My utility bills are pretty low, so I was able to muster that up. And, we got that stimulus check. A lot of people have their opinions about that, but I just about tapped that out, but I made that last for a long time. And, but being concerned about other people, helped the anxiety. I started cleaning my house in a way that, well, probably most normal people already do, but for me, the cobwebs and just a deep cleaning, a deep spring cleaning, got rid of some things, donated some things, sitting on my front porch on that, just the beginning of spring, it's still a little chilly, and reading my devotion book, reading my 12-step material, and just being very grateful to God. My youngest daughter had another baby, so that's 3 of them now. Henny Lee Harper Gerard, just a little bundle of joy, another little girl.
Nice.
And so that was focus. If I sat there and just stirred in my stuff, which is easy to do, and I think I could have been gone nuts. I worried about other alcoholics. Are they, I would understand why you would want to fall back into, I just want to drink, or something. And I've been able to, because I've tried that before, it just never worked. And so for some reason, I was able to abstain. And again, God is large and in charge. AA meetings. I mean, I'm very, very much I attend AA a lot. I don't know if I don't want to promote, we're not supposed to do that, but that is, if anybody's ever got a problem like that and you want to talk to me, I'll pretty much steer you in that direction. So, but it was my lifeline. It was my life saving. That's where I really met God for the, and through my journey. But AA meetings stopped. Yeah, you could have done it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just went to my first one because they opened. the place that I go to in Freeport just opened Friday last week. I went Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning, and here it is Monday. Um, so I miss that, but it's funny because social distancing. I guess I didn't know what it was called. That's what I've always been doing. I've been a social distancer, but I just kind of, if I'm not playing, hanging out that way, I'm off the park. I'm doing the frisbee golf thing, riding my bike, taking a cruise to the Mississippi River, back to my old stomping grounds, and just hanging out in nature. But every time I go to the park, I'd see a fellow member, and we, hey man, how you doing? How you doing? We all know how to talk to each other. You doing okay? We all know what that means. I've had a few phone calls, checking in with my parents, very worried about them. I had a flight booked. I was going to take my mother to church on Easter Sunday down in Florida. I was just going to do about a 4-day deal, and canceled. I mean, that was another thing, and so I got to say this COVID thing has really gotten in my way, but like it has, but again, like it has for everybody else.
Yeah.
And so,
how was your mom and dad? How was your mom and dad's health during this time period?
they're fine. I just talked to them 2 days ago, and my dad just well, it was Father's Day, and then my dad just celebrated a birthday like right after that. He just turned 85. My mom was an older woman. She was 85 first.
Yeah.
But anyway, I talked to them, and things are spiky, and they live in the villages. That's Florida's becoming a hot zone again. Mm-hmm. And I got to say, if my father for sure, if he was to get something, if that thing would hit him, I don't think it would be good. I want to have faith in that, but I want to have faith that they're going to be healthy and not have anything happen. So, my mother, she's healthier, but it not being able to go down. I mean, it means a lot for me to go see them. It's a big deal. Living amends, that's what I do, and I owe that to them, to be a son. Checking in with my daughters. I got a daughter that lives in Chicago, a hotbed. She's right downtown Chicago. She like across the street from Lincoln Park Zoo, and she works downtown in a big high rise, and she's like one of the only ones that are actually working. She manages an office, and but it's so surreal because the people have stopped. I mean, there's no people. Imagine downtown Chicago and walking around. There's hardly anybody around, hardly anybody on the bus. It's actually, there's nobody around. So, but she, checking in with her, make sure she's okay. And, my daughter, she's pregnant, has a baby. Where I think it's now about 2 months. The new one is 2 months old. So all these concerns about these people that, of course, I was always concerned about, but it was always, I was so self-centered. I'd forget to call my parents. I'd forget to check in with my daughters, and those kind of things. And that's just changed. So living really a normal life, like anybody else. Most people check in on their parents. Most people check in on their kids. I mean, I meant well, but I failed, and so I owe that to them too, to be a father, and with that comes being a grandfather. The people from I reached out to a few AA members. I played frisbee golf with a few people. We just went out there, and people were interested. Hey man, I'd like to do this. It sounds like fun. I see you're doing it all the time. So I've had 4 or 5 engagements of just meet me up at the park, and I got the frisbees. Let's just do it, and we'll talk. And so it's I'm, other than the fact that there's really something going on, and when I observe other people's businesses and things like that, Galena, Illinois, one of my favorite places. It's very spiritual for me. There's just a certain kind of energy there. And I know a lot of the locals, and we play music there. I watched a particular place where I played music at shut down in 2 weeks. I mean, emptied it out. It's a Mexican restaurant now already. 2 weeks it took that he's done. You know, and I've seen some snippets of, like, he's working 3 jobs right now, just trying to make it work, you know. And but you go to Galena, and in every other store, maybe not quite that, every fourth store, I don't know, but they're empty or 75% off. And that's just that little area that's precious to me. But it's going on downtown Freeport's going on downtown Rockford. It's going on all over the place.
Yeah.
So being a real self-centered son of a gun, I really focused on other people,
Sure.
other situations, praying for other people.
Mike, you said something earlier, and maybe kind of go into a little bit of an explanation, because you said living amends. What do you mean by, for people that don't know what that means? What do you mean by living amends?
Oh, well, I got to try to hold my composure on this, because that just hits me every time. Not that I haven't forgiven myself, but I know how I acted as a teenager and past that, as a married man, having children. My living amends are to my kids too. You know, it's anybody I had contact with back when I was living that other lifestyle. We're just drunken idiot. My parents, they're amazing. You know, my mom and dad raised my oldest daughter. She's 40 years old. I wasn't in the position to do that, but they stepped in at 55, and she was a 7-year-old little girl. Things weren't working out, you know, maybe with her, where she was living with her mom, and you know, they just had an opportunity to take legal custody, and they got that, and she lived an amazing life. But that's what my parents are like. That's my dad and my mom. You know, they had this beautiful, now they have this daughter, this granddaughter, but she was 180 degrees of what I was when I was in high school. She had some of the same teachers. She lived in the same house, but she went to the same church that, you know, that's where you know, that church is where I learned to smoke pot, because I went to church camp here, you know. So, I mean, but my daughter, she was the 180 degrees of what her dad was. And so it was a joy. So my parents got back with the locus of 8 too, I guess, in a sense, you know, because, you know, yes, through you know, having this child, and you know, she's not in just the best environments, you know, at that time. And my parents took over, and she got the you know, she was the church kid, and she was just a good kid. She was, I don't know what you call it, but like an Eagle Scout, only the equivalent of it in the Girl Scouts.
Gotcha.
She went all that way. You know what I'm saying? So living amends, I owe my daughters, I owe my parents, you know, I need to be a son to them. I need to be what they deserve. You know, it's kind of hard to go back and have my dad be proud of me for being a football player, because I failed at that. I got kicked off, you know, both my junior and senior year, both for doing stuff that you're not supposed to do. And that's disappointing. But, you know, I think today, you know, my dad and my mother are proud of me, you know, for what I do. You know, I am a musician, but it's deeper than that. I'm a teacher. I work with kids, and I'm not a counselor. I'm just experienced at making really bad choices. So when I see most of my kids are pretty decent, but I see maybe a little stoner come walking in. You know, I see this stuff, man. I can smell them, and you know, it's. I just know that I can talk. I talk to the guys all the time. I talk to my young guys. A lot of them know my story, not maybe in great detail, but I talk to them about the being in a band, playing music is cool, but there's a whole nother world you know, how to be respectful, how to be humble. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Sex and drugs about took the rock and roll away from me. Um, and it's both deals. And you know, just the distraction of all that stuff. Obviously, being under the influence really makes it hard to perform. I think people think they play good, but no, you don't. You don't play good. I'm getting better as a guitar player, but you know, being sober really helps me with that. Um, you know, I wish I could go back in time and stuff, but my parents deserve a son. You know, I painted my dad's house. Oh, way to go, Mike! You are an amazing kid. You know, wait, what a great guy. But you know what? Those are the things that you know. Last year about this time, I painted my mom and dad's house, and it was a Florida and about 100 degrees and heat index, you know, dangerous. I mean, it was great. I was sweating, and man, I got so into it. I really enjoyed it. And they really appreciated it too. But so that's a living amend. You know, I'm going to go down and help them. What do you guys need? So, you know, and I just want to be present. I go down there. I do have a good time, but I hang tight with my parents. I mean, we hang out and we just chat and hang out. It's, you know, it's hard to get back the, you know, those teen years and some of that, whatever else. I mean, you know, the divorces and the bad relationships and just the trouble as I got older. My parents were still aware, especially my mother. You know, it killed her. I'm her only child. You know, she couldn't let go. You know, I think codependency had a hold of her, but she's a mother too. So that I can't doubt the love of a mom. I don't, you know, towards her only son, who's probably going to die if he keeps doing this stuff. Mm-hmm. And they have friends. They have they're couple friends, you know, that they no longer have a son or a daughter that died in the 40s or 50-year-old that did not stop doing what they should have stopped a long time ago. And so, you know, for me to have died that way, yeah, maybe, well, he's just not in pain. And I don't know why he was in so much pain though, because, you know, I was just a rebellious little twerp, and I just took it way too far. But yeah, I'm just lucky to be alive, and you know, so I take a lot of time to be present for my little family and these grandkids. You know, I've told people, if you see me with a drink in my hand, hanging out at some dope house or whatever, shoot me in the head, because what I've been given back, what God will give you back, what the locusts have ate, I got to be a complete freaking moron to let that go. Because my daughter's not going to put up with that. She's not going to allow her dad to be around her children. You know, I was a friendly drunk. You know, but, you know, just, yeah, maybe not always a friendly drunk. I should probably not minimize that. Let's put it this way. I did enough damage to my children that they're not going to put up with that. You know, my mom and dad, oh, that would be so disappointing to them. So am I doing it for them? You know what? Kinda. Yeah, a little bit. You can't do it for somebody else. You got to do it for yourself. Well, yeah, you do. You got to have that first initiative. I'm going to stop for myself and, you know, hope that I can pull through. I had no clue what the sobriety thing was going to bring to me. I had no idea. I know I'm rambling on.
Well, you know, you make a good point, Mike, because I think, you know, that's what I do agree, and I know it's come out of my mouth. You got to do your recovery for you, but a lot of times when we're caught up in the middle of our thing, you know, whatever it is, addiction, whatever it is, we want to know, what am I going to get out of it? And what usually we get out of it is either we get something from it, or at least we receive no more pain. You know, the hope is that we're going to have less pain or less rejection or less isolation. And so there needs to be that tension and exchange between I'm getting something from other people and other things, or not getting things removed anymore, which then serves me. And it isn't until later on, after we learn some things, do we recognize, like what you said about this idea of spirituality, about mindfulness, about paying it forward, about living amends. That doesn't come right away. We got to get some get some time in there. You said something I want you to also touch on. You said something to the effect earlier. You said something about finding God through the individuals or through your experiences at the meetings, or you said something to that effect. Now, obviously, you had been introduced to the concept of God and church and Christianity, all those things, but God as you understand them, walk us through that a little bit. God as Michael understands.
Well, I'm going to quote. I got to quote something out of this really cool blue book here. It's kind of beat up on the outside because I used to carry it around with me all the time, but the inside smelled like a new car. In other words, I didn't look at it very much. So, but I've since been reading the heck out of it. It's a book that we use in a 12-step group. It's the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and we will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. And that's it in a nutshell, because why I'm alive before I even wanted to be sober, or before I realized maybe I got a problem, I'm just alive. The car accidents, rolling trucks, falling down steps, things I don't even remember. Why I'm alive, the amount of drugs and alcohol that I took, that you never mix those. You'll see it on that bottle. Do not mix these with alcohol. Well, alcohol helped the effect. And why I have a liver. I have blood work done. I've got like perfect enzymes, however they measure that stuff. I'm going in for a CT scan next week just want to make sure I'm okay. I did damage. I probably did. But anyway, this higher power thing, when I go to a meeting and I know somebody's story, the beauty of these 12-step groups is that what was it like? What happened? And what's it like now? Now, and I also have to share my story with somebody that's brand new, somebody just like me in the day. I need to hear some experience, man. I got to hear, you just quit drinking and that's it. You just go sit. Can't have any fun, I mean, it's hardly that. But when I hear a testimony of a gal, 20 some years ago, they had to drag her out of the West Hotel, which is a kind of like the Rustic Inn in Freeport, or in Rockford. Those hotels that were maybe kind of cool back in the 60s, but they're kind of set up for one thing. And I think it's pretty heavy duty drug use in some of these little shady hotels that are around. And Freeport has one maybe I shouldn't say that, but anyway, there's a lot of shady things that go on in these hotels and motels. Anyway, when I see a gal who couldn't put that crack pipe down, and she gets dragged out of there, ends up in treatment, and now she's been a nurse at a reputable hospital, and she's a reputable nurse. In other words, she put herself through nursing school. I mean, what? How the heck do you do that as a crackhead in a motel room, in a sleazy one? The stories are endless. I have a story too, but I listen to everybody else's because I think mine is kind of just the prodigal son. I just wanted to be spoiled, or I just wasn't happy with who I was and all that stuff. But you hear this story, this person's kids were taken away. DCFS gets jumped in there. My mom came to a meeting on Thanksgiving Day. It's Thanksgiving for the last probably 6-7 years. I always go to the Alano Club. It's a club that we all support, and we hold meetings there and stuff like that. But we have a big Thanksgiving dinner. And man, Kevin, I took my parents there, and they were moms that had their kids because they got to have them on Thanksgiving Day for a couple of hours. And I got permission. And my mom realized that, and she was crying like a baby. Just because these parents are so, this mother's so happy to see her kids, and she's trying to not be a heroin addict anymore, and or drink, and that's why you get your kids taken away. But when you see that stuff, I don't think they're capable of doing that all by themselves. I'm not capable of doing what's happened to me by myself. Actually, I don't think I'd wanna. God wants a better thing. I've realized that I'm created in the image of God, and this is what He doesn't want that for me. Maybe He kept me alive just that one more time, because that last time I way too much Xanax and way too much alcohol, and the 3 people of AA that came to my house, and how that all transpired. I don't know if I got time for that story, but that's God in my dumbass life. I shouldn't have woke up. And so there's those stories, and that was a little over 6 years ago when that happened. And why did I do that? I just wanted to be buzzed. Wasn't trying to kill myself. Wasn't like that. I just out of control. And when I start doing those things, I just can't quit. So I see God. People go to church, they feel the Holy Spirit. I'm going to turn this around a little bit. A lot of times when I go to church, I feel a little disconnected to the internet, so to speak. When I go to an AA meeting or these 12 or hang with people like that, then I feel the Holy Spirit. I see the miracles. And so that's, if you can do this, I know of another junkie. She just graduated from nursing school, the Highland program. She's a nurse today. And she's been sober maybe 15 years, 10. I can't keep track of everybody's stuff, but I mean, the key is sobriety. But sobriety is usually not number one. It's God, sobriety, and it seems to work for those that want it. If you really want to stay sober, there is a life without alcohol. I go out, some of the goofy jobs that I have, that God has helped me to supplement my income, because I'm very unemployed, and I don't want the frustration of trying to get unemployment. I just read the rhetoric of people trying to get it, and they're just freaking out, and it's just, and I know people get through finally, but I know how I am, and if I'd be checking every 20 minutes. All right, let's see okay, oh my gosh, oh, they didn't hear anything yet. On there, I tried to call, and I'll call, and I'll call. I'll spend all day trying to get through so I can get that special unemployment for gig workers, which I would love to have. But I know the frustration that I'm going to have. That might trip me up to where, you know what, screw this. I'm going down the street. I'm going to get some alcohol. I can't deal with this. So sacrificing some free money, but you know what God provides. I'm on boat patrol. I don't know if I got authority. I'm like a lifeguard on a boat. That's kind of what I feel like I am. But I'm making sure people are compliant. I work with the conservation officer. He's the guy that will let you know if you've been drinking too much on the boat. I don't have to worry about that, but I can see things, and I don't have to really say much to these people. I could, this is a very unsafe situation, and things happen that way. But here's the irony: is I'm not an authority guy ever. I still have a hard time with it, especially nowadays when I get to be my age, and all my bosses are 20 years younger, if not younger, and they're telling me that I can't do something or whatever, and it doesn't always go well. But so here I'm out on this lake, and driving a boat. I love the boat. I grew up with boats, but I have this job where I'm, just making sure people are safe, making sure you're okay. Are you doing good? I chat with people. I talked to a state trooper yesterday. I was on the lake, and he had to go out for a call out at the lake at this place, and he was out at the one of the marinas. He was just looking out at the lake, and I pulled in. I said, "Hey, how's it going, sir? I wanted to thank you for your service." So again, out of myself into this guy because I know what's going on. I hear, I see. I said, "Man, thank you. Thank you for your service." He said, "Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that." There's a trooper, state police. He says, "Hey, can I ride in your boat?" And I'm thinking, "Ah, boy, can I do this?" Well, and then there was another gentleman. "You're going to deny us a trooper?" I said, "You know what? No, I'm not. Hop in, sir." And I pulled over, made it safe, got him in. We sat, and I got to ask him questions. He just, I don't even think he wanted to talk. He just took his hat off, and we rode up and down the lake. A policeman. And I admitted, I said, when I drank, I always broke out in handcuffs. Every single time, man, DUIs or public intox or some stupid thing that alcohol would make me do, or helped me to do, make the decisions I made. So, here I am with a police officer, and we're just two human beings in a boat. And I had to do a little action. I had to tell a guy to slow down because it was a no wait time, and so I got to do some of my stuff, I'm just kidding, but I did have to tell a guy to slow down. It's just, it's just never a dull moment. But I mean, that's how God supplements me. I'm working this boat thing, and now I just started at the Y again, and they've got a whole new position there, and I am wiping down machines. Oh my gosh, they are the YMCA. God bless them. They are fulfilled. They are making it. They're probably above and beyond what the requirements are, and I'm a part of that team to clean up after people are cleaning up after themselves, but I'm cleaning up after them, and just reminding them, hey man, maybe a mask, don't be so close over here on these machines, just stuff like that. And I know you got to be very polite because people are a little edgy, and so again, I got another sort of an authority job, but I take that very lightly. I just want everybody to be safe. Just want everybody to follow the rules. I'm a rule breaker times 10. So that's just ironic that I'm doing some of these things, but that's supplementing me. And here's the biggest one. The students, Gazzardo Music, they're open. Man, they're following protocol above and beyond. And it's up to the students. I've gotten hold of all my students. You guys want to come back? Not yet, man. I'm going to wait at least a couple more months. To yes, to they're wearing a mask. I've set up my room. I got a tape measure. We're 8 feet away from each other. There's a place upstairs where I can be even a little further away. Zoom is an option, but I am so personal with my students, and most of my students are getting so good that we jam. You can't do that with Zoom. And so, I just waited it out. I'm getting blessed with new students. They're coming to my house now, and I've always had a handful of students that I mean, for the first month, nothing. We all were like, what the heck is going on here? Everybody. So I mean, there was nothing. But that's when I discovered my house. I discovered the porch. I discovered sitting in this room. I discovered sitting over here. I was just living in my home, and I was very grateful. I was cooking healthy. Aldi's is right up the street. I had no problem with, and my daughter, because I'm not really going anywhere, my youngest daughter, now my daughter in Chicago, it was a hotbed. We had to talk on the phone, but my daughter with the babies, she lives very close. And I was helping her, and we were doing life, and I would still see my grandkids. I broke out my Hot Wheels track, and I got old school Hot Wheels, man, from the 60s. Some of them things are worth 200. It's like, oh, you guys, especially my 3-year-old, it's like, honey, now put that down now, honey. That's worth like $300. But so they're playing with my Hot Wheels tracks, and it was just, and the fact that my daughter left and dropped off with these grandkids, and she went, that's pretty cool. That I'm trusted, you know, that I can't do much with the baby. She's breastfeeding, so I'm out of luck on that one. But you know, so but anyway, if I didn't mention God yet, by the way, God is large and in charge, because I just kind of wander around aimlessly. I mean, I do have some direction, but I'm still really rebellious. I struggle with authority. I just had an incident. Oh, the band, the music. You know, Kevin, I lost all those gigs. Then all of a sudden, I get a call from a winery that I've done business with since 2006. I've known Mossback Winery. They got a beautiful open thing. It's God's country out there, man. It's crazy. But she called me, Mike, you know what? How do you feel? Are you doing okay? I mean, we want you to come out and play for us. And I'm like, you know what? And she just wanted me, just solo thing, just kind of laid back, but people wearing masks, everybody's doing the right thing. And she blessed me really well. The tip jar I couldn't believe. And I never said, oh, by the way, I'm an unemployed musician and I don't have no money and I can't I've never played that card, and I've seen people doing that on Facebook, and I'm like, no, I know you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that for me thing, because there's a lot of people that just really got it bad. So the gigs are coming back, but they're getting replaced by the ones. I just got a cancellation today for one in August. They're getting replaced with another one. You know, I'm playing 3 times 4th of July weekend. 2 of them are actually original. They're just going for it, but they're totally outside, and I feel very safe about them. Now, I have done a couple of but being with the band and stuff, I mean, I know that I've had some clashes with band members in the past, and that still can happen, you know, and that's kind of in the present right now. And my remorse on that is, boy, I got a lot of work to do on me. I don't need to focus on somebody else that I have some angst with, or we had a falling out or something. I got to go, okay, because that's what this book tells me to do, because it says to do this. Whenever there's an issue, a problem, a situation, something that, I'm going to paraphrase the heck out of this, but something that just doesn't seem right, you got to figure out with it inside of you. Why does this bother you so much? Why does this event, that person, that thing, whatever it is? You know, Kevin, I could go nuts. You know, the airlines, I couldn't fly to Florida. Don't they know who I am? I mean, you know, I mean, that's crazy, but I have that kind of arrogance. I've had that kind of ego. I've had that before. I know what that tastes like, and I know what it sounds like, and it's horrible. I don't have to talk about anybody else. If anybody wants to gossip about me or talk about my past, you know, get hold of me first, because I will give you some stuff. I mean, you can have fun with. You know, you want some gossip? Let me tell you the truth. I got some gossip about me, because I am me, and I've been I lived in this body for a long time, and so, you know, by the grace of God, I'd never killed anybody. I've hurt some hearts. You know, I do owe amends to people. I don't know about the living amends so much. Now, if I had a wife and it was bad, yes, living amends, that's how you make that better. You got to change. And you might have to kiss butt because you were such an idiot. You gotta change, man. A lot of people or you know, that get sober, wherever you're at, just stop drinking. All I know is that just because I haven't drank today does not mean I can be the most self-centered a-hole that you'd ever see. I have a mind, and it's clear, and I can also go into the what's in it for me. So, you know.
So Mike, I want to ask you a couple things, and you definitely touched on them, but you know, kind of like when I saw you the other night, and you said some things, and you know, you one of the things you said that resonated with me is that there was a time period that you would have never thought you would have been able to do 3 months of sobriety, 3 months of recovery without going to regular meetings, right? So there was that you said something along that line, because that's
No
how
way.
much part of your recovery's been, is that fellowship, that teaching, that sacred space. So I want to ask this question. It is that in the midst of what we'll call the COVID stuff, in the midst of this chaos, what opportunities did Mike find?
Opportunities.
Just so think about, in the midst of this last 3 months, right? Now there's some light coming into this darkness for you, right? Some gigs are coming back, you're able to get back and working again. But in the middle of the chaos of everything getting turned upside down, it sounded like there were some opportunities to, get closer, even closer with your daughter and your grandkids. It sounded like there was
Okay.
opportunities for you to really focus on doing some things around your house to create it even more of a home.
Absolutely.
You did something with the porch, right? So
Well, I just used it.
that's what I
You know,
mean. That's what I mean.
I actually sat out there. It was
That,
great. You know, like
that's
wow, and I got a little love seat and everything out. It's always been there, but it's for my students to take their shoes off and stuff. But I mean, the gratitude of having here. I told you I was going to do this. This here, can you see that nice van?
yeah, very nice.
Yeah. I lived in that thing for a year. Um, that's when I lived out at this lake, and things. My wife divorced me because I was a drunk. I can't say anything about her. There's nothing to say. So when you come from that, and I've lived in shadier places too when I was single and things. I know about waking up and what's crawling on me. Oh, it's a cockroach. Oh man, I've experienced those kind of scenes, but you know, to have been able to buy this home, I'm in a good neighborhood. It's an older neighborhood. I've got great neighbors. My house is solid, built in the 50s. I was able to apply for a program that allowed me to have some very. There was a point where do I need a new furnace, a roof, and there was another one that, well, furnace and roof is big, and my roof was leaking. But I didn't have heat, so God, which one do you fix here? I can only really do one, And so again, was blessed with this program where they fix things up, and then you gotta comply, you gotta follow some rules and stuff. And but I got windows, and so I have this very solid home. A lot of times I do find myself, sometimes I was in the beginning of sobriety, it was very strange being in my house. I think because I used here all the time. I was drunk here a lot. The stuff that I would do by myself, being drunk, was, I mean, it was comical, I guess, but I'm just so used to that being in my house. So I needed to clean my house of that kind of spirit, or that kind of a process, or that I'm used to that. Sometimes if you were an ex-smoker, sometimes you'd reach where your cigarettes used to be. Just 10 years later, whoa, what was that? I'm reaching for a pack of cigarettes, because it's just ingrained. And so this house reminded me of drinking a lot and crying in just a big, the cry sessions, and talking to myself, and just crazy things that God saw. So I would leave and go other places so I wouldn't be here, but I'd saturate myself with meetings, and just go other places. I was just always somewhere else. But I've been able to I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm comfortable in my own home. I see this. I've cleaned my side of the street. I've cleaned house. Well, physically, yeah. You don't want to come in here right now, but it's kind of messy. But it's a good kind of messy. But the gratitude of having a home. My payment, I don't even want to tell you what my house payment is, and with the taxes and insurance, people, are you kidding me? I couldn't live in that crack hotel I talked about earlier. I couldn't even live in that place per month. It's it's probably my house payment is probably 2/3 lower than that even. So um, so I mean, learning cooking. I'm eating healthy. I don't want to be in denial about sugar though. I got an issue with sugar, but that's a whole nother. I think I know how to handle that, Kevin. You know what? Here's the thing. When I wanted to drink, it was time. When I wanted to stop drinking, it was time. If I wanted to drink, I will. But I desire the desire has left me, and I really have no desire to drink. It does not look appealing when I'm out at this lake doing boat patrol. Trust me, on a day like yesterday, people out in the boats, nobody's drinking. Yeah, everybody's drinking. And hey man, I'm offered all the time. Dude, I'm in this boat, and that would be something I would have done. Yeah, hey, yeah, pass that over here. Yeah, I just have one. Drive around in a boat on duty. Now it's like, no, absolutely not. I can't. And most people that I know out there know where I've been and know that I'm different today, that I just choose not to drink. And I don't hold that against any, if you drink, whatever. It's you live and let live. I choose not to drink. But so the house thing, the blessed like that. I had a point I was going to make, but I lost it. What was the question again? No.
Well, and I think partly, and I'm just going to kind of, with a couple of things that you said, I'm just going to kind of recap with some. It was those things, right? It was everything disappeared in a matter of a very short time period. But even though that happened, you had enough experience, enough time. I think what they enough coins in the
Yeah.
sobriety bank, right? That you knew what you weren't going to do, even though you didn't know what was going to happen, right? And so
Just
this,
reminded me.
yeah, go ahead.
It's spiritual bank.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to tell you. It's a spiritual program. In the long run, whether you want to be atheist or agnostic, um, a lot of people come into the program with a very twisted view of God. God took away my husband, my father, my friend from brain cancer, and it lasted 10 months. I mean, kind of God is that, you know what I mean? Right there's people can have their thoughts about that, and religion and those twisted views. People come in pretty damaged. So you want to talk to them about God, and by the way, you can't drink anymore, or you shouldn't drink. Those two just don't go together very often. So the way 12-step groups are kind of, you end up finding, God knows, he just knows we're funny creatures. Every man, woman, child, the image of God is right there, whether you believe it or not. I'm sorry, but my friends that are atheists and stuff, okay, but every man, woman, and child, the image of God is right there. So little did I know, but by going, I'm not the best AA person. I'm not a great AAer. I'm not a very good sponsor. But I will talk to other alcoholics and tell them my story, or whatever they ask me a question, or I'll hang out with them. I've tried sponsoring it. I find that people just, sponsoring a 17-year-old, and you're trying to tell them to not, because they're having problems at home. And sometimes they're 17 years old. And, anyway, but I like to chair meetings. There was just something that's kind of given back. I do pay tithe, if you will. We pass a basket, self-supporting. I do pay the $1 or more. I belong to this Alano Club. That's a membership. Pay your dues. So I do give back. AA has given me millions. I've given them back pennies. But my routine between Rockford and Freeport groups was probably at best five meetings a week. So you start saving that. I don't know that I'm saving it, but every meeting is amazing because you hear a testimony of somebody, or you see that piece of that guy that's got 40 years sitting in that corner and he's 75 or 80 years old, and he's got 45 years, or maybe he's got 50 years, and they don't even have to talk. They're the epitome of serenity. We have people like that, and I love seeing the old timers. Now, some people with lots of heavy sobriety, I maybe wouldn't want their way of doing things, but you know what? They haven't drank for 30 years. That's wow. But there are some people that seem, for me, for my spirit, what I would like to see out of this program is that peace, that tranquility, serenity, all those words that I didn't even know what that meant. And humbleness, humility, not humiliation. I got those two mixed up. Humiliation was no problem. You want me to humiliate myself and you, have me over. But being humble about things, and I know that if I start talking about how humble I am, I guess so much for being really humble. So I'm going to skip that part. But that's a thing that I got to work on. Or God works on that all the time with me, in a gentle, soft way, or through a voice of another human being. But that spiritual bank account, Kevin, I did not know how much I had in my savings account until this happened. Yeah. And that, in a nutshell, is like this whole interview, really. How did you make it through? I didn't realize my spiritual bank account was so full. Yeah. I mean, it was busting out. So God will give you back with the locust of aid, because he will fill the storehouses. You read that scripture, it talks about giving you more, an abundance of using food for the metaphor. And I had so much. God's got me. He's got me. He's large and in charge. I give all the glory to him. I'm not a big amen, brother, Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ is my personal savior, by the way. But I'm not a Bible thumper, and I'm not really good at going to a church. But I wanted to go Easter Sunday so I could take my mother to church, because she likes that, and I don't have a problem with it. But I used to. That's living amends. When I asked my mom, the last time I was there, I asked her, because they've conformed maybe, well, he doesn't really want to go to church, so we won't say anything, and we don't have to go, I know my mom wants to go. And so I asked her. And again, wow, Mike, what a great son. But this is what I don't think about. Her, not me. Mom, you want to go to church? What? Well, yeah. Well, let's go. And so my mom and dad and I would go to church. And I didn't catch on fire. It's all good. So there's some more living amends. I mean, it's
So Mike, as we get ready to wrap up, when I saw you the other day and you said that, and I wanted you to share that piece, because I know there's a lot of individuals right now that are struggling. There's a lot of individuals that are struggling with mental illness. They're struggling with suicide, with overdosing, with going back out and relapsing. And I think it's a combination of, it's a lot easier, right, when you've put deposits into that bank account that you can withdraw from when times get tough. But even with that, like you said, instead of focusing on what you didn't have, you still were reaching out to people. You were reaching out to people that you could reach out to. You were making connections. You were thinking about other people than just your situation. And I think the combination of all those things are what allows us to think about abundance versus fearing a scarcity. And if you've been playing, if you've been practicing, if you've been doing those things, then when they call to play a gig, you're ready to go.
Oh yeah.
You're just looking for an audience. you got the music's there, it's just waiting for the audience. So I appreciate, Mike, you as more than I appreciate your energy, and I appreciate, you know, as we got to know each other over the years, when you were working at Peak and we would talk in the morning, and you know, your humbleness about your imperfections and your thinking always amazed me, because in the midst of a 20-minute ride, you'd go from where you were at to a different mindset by the time we got done talking. And I don't think I said one thing the whole time.
I kind of do that.
Yeah. So,
But
Mike,
you know, Kevin, this having a home, I got a house. I didn't have to, it was taken care of. I mean, I just, without a doubt, I think I'm going to, no, I don't think. I know I'm going to be taken care of. I just don't know what that means. I don't even play the lottery. I don't expect that. You know, so, and by the way, I just wanted to remind you, when I saw you Saturday, it was a pleasant surprise. I mean, here we are now. We were supposed to play till 6, and you guys show up at like 7:45 or whatever, 7:30.
of course, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we weren't supposed to play till then, but we did because just seemed right, and I don't know. And then of all the places you picked was that place, which you never go there,
Right.
right, or something, you know. So
Yeah. Well, that wasn't even the place we were supposed to go to. The place we were supposed to go to was jam packed, and we couldn't even find a parking stall, which was uncomfortable in itself. So we drove down the street to, and as I'm walking up, I'm like, Diane, that's Mike. So,
yeah. So
so
I mean, and now here we are, like 3 days later, or 2 days later.
yeah, Mike,
That's God.
yeah, exactly. And it's about keeping not only your mind open, but your eyes open so that your heart can be open.
Amen.
So, my friend, I appreciate you. You be safe. Don't fall off the boat. You know, you keep
Stay in that boat.
You stay in the boat. You keep doing exactly what you're doing, and everything will be okay.
You know, I'm going to do that. I'm going back to meetings again though, because I'm glad they're open. I got to get some money in that account right here in the heart.
Yeah.
You know, so, but thanks so much, Kevin, and God bless you and what you do, how you impact people. Wow. One person at a time, man. You got a great staff.
Yeah. Thank you.
So they got a good leader. Good leader.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
Friend, I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you do, and you keep taking care. All right, my friend.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you for being on the show. All right.
Absolutely,
Hey,
man.
if someone needs to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
815-541-1027. And we can start with a guitar lesson, but if it's a guy, we end up kind of chatting a little bit. So
if they email, what's the best email?
Mike's Music Box, and that's all lowercase, one word, at hotmail.com.
Perfect. All right, my friend.
And you can find me on Facebook too under Michael R. Kelly. So have nothing to do with R. Kelly, by the way. So thanks,
All
brother.
Right. All right. We'll talk to you soon.